Nobody talks about this honestly. Most conversations about mental health eventually arrive at the same place. You need to make big changes. You need to overhaul your routine, your relationships, your thinking patterns, your entire relationship with yourself. And while that is not entirely wrong, it misses something that psychology research has been quietly documenting for decades. The most significant shifts in how the human brain feels do not come from dramatic transformations. They come from small, consistent, almost invisible daily habits that compound over time in ways that neuroscience is only beginning to fully understand. Today we are going through exactly 10 of them, and by the end of this video, something in you will understand why you have been making this harder than it needs to be. Here is what the science actually tells us first. The brain is not a fixed organ. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's documented ability to reorganize itself, form new connections, and literally change its structure in response to repeated experience and behavior. What this means in practical terms is that every small habit you practice consistently is not just a behavior. It is a signal you are sending to your nervous system about what kind of environment it is living in. And the nervous system responds, slowly, quietly, and with remarkable reliability. Habit 1. Spend the first 10 minutes of your morning without your phone. This one is deceptively simple and neurologically significant. Research from the University of California has shown that checking your phone immediately upon waking floods the brain with cortisol, the stress hormone, before your nervous system has had the chance to orient itself to the day. Your brain wakes up in a state of alertness and possibility. Giving it 10 minutes of quiet before introducing external demands allows the prefrontal cortex to engage gradually rather than reactively. The result over time is a nervous system that begins the day from a place of calm rather than crisis. Habit 2. Move your body for at least 10 minutes every day. Not exercise in the performance sense, not a workout that requires motivation or equipment, just movement. Research published in the journal JAMA Psychiatry found that even 10 minutes of moderate physical movement per day is associated with measurable reductions in symptoms of depression and anxiety. Movement triggers the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that supports the growth and maintenance of neurons. In simple terms, moving your body is one of the most direct signals you can send your brain that you are alive and functioning, and the brain responds by feeling more alive and functional. Habit 3. Drink water before anything else in the morning. The brain is approximately 75% water. Even mild dehydration, as little as 1 to 2% below optimal hydration, has been shown in cognitive research to impair mood, concentration, and emotional regulation. Before coffee, before food, before anything, a glass of water in the first few minutes of waking is one of the smallest and most consistently underestimated acts of mental health maintenance available to anyone at any time. Habit 4. Name one thing you are grateful for each day. Not a list, not a journal, just one thing. Research led by psychologist Robert Emmons at the University of California, Davis, has consistently shown that the simple act of consciously identifying one genuine source of gratitude per day shifts the brain's attentional bias over time. The brain has a documented negativity bias. It is wired to notice and retain negative experiences more readily than positive ones. Gratitude practice does not eliminate that bias. It creates a counterweight, a daily signal that tells the brain to scan for what is working alongside what is not. Habit 5. Create one moment of complete stillness each day. Not meditation in the formal, structured sense, unless that works for you. Just one moment of intentional stillness, sitting quietly for 5 minutes, stepping outside and doing nothing, closing your eyes before a meal. Research in contemplative neuroscience has shown that brief periods of intentional stillness activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and recovery mode, and measurably reduce the physiological markers of stress. The nervous system was not designed to be constantly activated. Stillness is not laziness. It is maintenance. Habit 6. Consider this for a moment. Every habit described so far costs nothing. None of them require equipment, money, a perfect schedule, or an already functioning routine to build upon. What they require is repetition. And what repetition requires is not motivation. Motivation is unreliable and temporary. What repetition requires is understanding. When you understand why something works at the level of your own brain and nervous system, you stop needing to convince yourself to do it. You simply do it because it makes sense. That is what psychology offers here. Not pressure, not discipline, understanding. Habit 7. Spend time in natural light every day. Natural light regulates the brain's production of serotonin, the neurotransmitter most directly associated with mood stability and emotional resilience. Research from the National Institute of Mental Health has shown that light exposure, particularly in the morning, directly influences circadian rhythm regulation, which in turn affects sleep quality, energy levels, and emotional baseline. You do not need to live somewhere sunny. Even on overcast days, outdoor natural light is significantly more powerful than indoor artificial light in terms of its neurological effect. 10 to 15 minutes outside each day is enough to make a measurable difference. Habit 8. End one interaction each day with genuine connection. Not a long conversation, not a vulnerable disclosure, just one moment of genuine human contact. A real question asked and listened to. A moment of eye contact and presence. Research in social neuroscience consistently shows that genuine human connection, even in brief doses, activates the brain's reward system and reduces cortisol levels. The operative word is genuine. Performative social interaction does not produce the same neurological effect. One real moment of connection per day is not a social demand. It is a biological need being met. Habit 9. Set one small and completable intention each morning. Not a to-do list, not a set of goals. One small specific thing that you intend to do today that you can genuinely complete. Research in behavioral psychology shows that the act of completing an intention, regardless of how small, triggers a dopamine release that reinforces the neural pathway associated with follow-through. Over time, this builds what psychologists call self-efficacy, the brain's belief in its own ability to do what it says it will do. And self-efficacy is one of the most reliable predictors of long-term mental health and resilience that psychology has ever identified. Habit 10. Choose a consistent sleep and wake time. Not perfect sleep. Not 8 hours every night without exception. Just consistency. Research from the Sleep Research Society has shown that irregular sleep timing, going to bed and waking at different times across the week, disrupts the brain's circadian rhythm more significantly than reduced sleep duration. A consistent sleep schedule, even an imperfect one, gives the brain's regulatory systems a reliable rhythm to work within. And a brain with a reliable rhythm is a brain that manages emotion, stress, and cognitive load significantly more effectively than one operating in constant temporal unpredictability. Here is what all 10 of these habits have in common. None of them ask you to be a different person. None of them require you to have more willpower, more time, or more resources than you currently have. What they ask is something simpler and in many ways more demanding than any of that. They ask you to treat your own brain and nervous system as something worth taking care of. Not when you feel better, not when life gets easier. Now, today, with what you already have. Here is what all 10 of these habits have in common. None of them ask you to be a different person. None of them require you to have more willpower, more time, or more resources than you currently have. What they ask is something simpler and in many ways more demanding than any of that. They ask you to treat your own brain and nervous system as something worth taking care of. Not when you feel better, not when life gets easier. Now, today, with what you already have.